Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about how culture transcends. That is a thinker. And luckily, I have Dan here who's going to help us think about this in a whole new way. So, thank you so much, Dan, for coming on to my show, sharing your time and your perspective. I am excited for this. So, let's just dive right in. When you hear those words, how culture transcends, what does that make you think about?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I love your intro. So, you know, a culture is kind of like one of those words I see like balance, right? So I feel like it's a very misunderstood word. So some people are like, "Oh, there's no such thing as balance," right? And I think sometimes culture gets thrown around. I run a real estate team of nearly 50 agents, and for me, culture is very, very, very important. And the
Yeah.
reason for that is because um, I believe that culture transcends words. It transcends ideas, right? It's like kind of the essence of like what is, and the culture is like the fuel for everything that your team or your organization is able to create. It is the kind of the physical representation of what you are actually doing. So it's impossible to have um, a high functioning team with garbage culture. And
Yep.
it's possible to have great culture with a garbage team, right? The culture it's the result of. And so, in
Mhm.
my opinion, it transcends all of these other things because it's the result of. And so, if you're not focused on the results that you're getting, how are you producing at a high level?
Exactly. And I don't think a lot of people understand that because you can easily see that a company or an organization does not value their culture or does not value their moral statement, you know what I mean, that value statement of what it's supposedly supposed to represent because of that garbage of the team, you know what I mean? The employees don't get along, the employees don't feel safe, the employees are trying to already find another job while they're working for the organization. You know what I mean? Those high turnover rates, those are real big things that are identifiers that the culture in the work environment is really not what they portray it to be. Oh, I hate it when companies like we treat everybody like family. Yeah, right. But then as soon as somebody gets sick, they have no consideration, they have no understanding, and they have no way to just help or just give some leniency or anything to why that person was sick. No, it was like, oh, you didn't do your job. Their project was set and you didn't even do it. These orders needed to be done and you didn't even do it. Why? Oh, because they weren't there because they were in the hospital or they were giving birth or they were in a car accident. They don't understand that. They don't put that together because all they care about are the numbers. And if the numbers aren't meeting up, then it's not actually working. And it really makes it frustrating. So for you, how do you make sure that your culture for your environment is set in on stone?
So, once again, so I used to coach high school basketball. And, the saying that I always used to tell our team was the scoreboard takes care of itself, right? It doesn't matter how much you focus on the scoreboard, it will not change unless you execute, right? It will not change unless you show up a specific way. That will take care of itself based on how you are showing up. And so,
Mhm.
with our team, the scoreboard is the culture. And so, what I focus on is our values, mission, and standards. And so, our values is the way I think about values is if you were locked in a cubicle for the next 10 years and you had to work side by side with another person, it doesn't matter what the job is, but you're locked in this cubicle 8 hours a day for the next 10 years, want that person to be? Like, how do you want them to show up? Right? What do you want their energy to be like? Those kinds of things, right? That's the values. And so I did that thought experiment. I came up with the team values. Then I drew up a mission. Okay, where are we headed? Where are we going? And so for us, we're in real estate. The team mission is to transform through the vehicle of real estate. So it's about personal growth. It's about business growth. It's about transforming. It's about becoming a better person through the vehicle of real estate is our mission. And then the standards is our operating procedure. So it's like, you're expected to show up to meetings. You're expected to be resourceful. You're expected to, solve your own problems. You're expected to, and we kind of go through all the standards. And then I took that values, mission, and standards and I brought it to the team and I said, here's my idea. What do you guys think? Added, subtracted, changed, updated, whatever, created the final thing. Everybody approved it. And I said, this is it. And so that's what we focus on. And so if there's ever anybody who is acting outside of that, I can be like, hey, remember this thing that you agreed to? You know, like you need to either keep hold to your word or you need to leave, right? And I haven't had to
Yeah.
I haven't had to have that hard of a conversation with anybody yet because people are on board. Like, don't you want to work in an environment where you have strong values that are clear and adhered to? Don't you want to be in a work environment where you have a clear mission and where you have standards that everybody abides by that makes everybody more successful? And so everybody kind of looks at that and they go, well, yeah, so then we need to do it too. And so then the culture is the result of the focus on those pieces.
Well, absolutely. I think that is beautiful how you allowed everybody into your values, missions, and standards so that everybody is on top of what you're trying to project out and portray because it's more than just reputation. It's about truly embodying this culture that you want to have everybody know that, oh, when you work for Dan, you know that you're going to get clear cut information. You know that you're going to be heard, you're going to be valued, you're going to be seen. And I think that's something that a lot of companies need to start addressing and just embodying themselves because it doesn't seem like they have everyone's everyone's perspective in mind, and I think that's what ruins the culture is the discrimination, is that superiority complex and things like that. So how exactly do you stray away from that superiority and that power, um you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So, you know, in some ways, running a real estate team is different than corporate America, but at the core of it, it's really not. It's the same thing. You have an organization, you've got a group of people that you're trying to get to move in one direction, right? It's the same thing.
Mm,
Same thing as
mm-hmm,
coaching basketball. It's the same thing.
mm-hmm,
Uh, and I can't speak to corporate America. I've never worked in corporate America, but just from my experience of listening to other people talk about it, there is a this is the way we've always done it. This is the way we're going to do it. And that's cancerous, And I think that there are a lot of companies out there now who recognize that this is cancerous and they are starting to really lean into true leadership and mindset training. And I think a lot of these organizations are starting to kind of move that direction because that's what the millennials want, right? That's what the incoming workforce wants and needs. The old guard is not working anymore. And, these old habits don't change until new people come in and go, we're not going to put up with this crap. And then all of a sudden things start to change. So we're starting to see that shift already. I think for me, being a middle school science teacher, right? I taught middle school for 7 years, coached high school basketball, and it's funny. The authoritarian teachers sent more kids to the principal's office in a week than I did in my entire career, right? Why? Because they're a-holes, right? Because nobody wants to listen to them. Nobody's going to respect them. They're going to push the boundaries just to get a rise out of them, right? So I
mm-hmm,
learned very early in my life as a middle school science teacher that if you work with people, if you explain to them why you're doing what you're doing, if you communicate with them, if you treat them as an equal and with respect, they will reciprocate. And so when I would come into my classroom and I would be like, hey guys, I'm really tired today. I'm in a bad mood today. Like, don't mess with me today. Like, just
yeah,
give me a break. They were cool, you know?
yeah,
And so I learned that early on. And so it's the same thing with my team now. I really try to remember that I am not as big and important as I think I am. So get out of my own way. How do I provide value to the team
yeah,
um, in a way that resonates with them, and then get out of the way?
yeah,
That's one of the beautiful things about good, healthy leadership is it's not about the leader.
Yeah.
It's about the people who you are leading. And so
Yes.
that's how I try to keep the culture moving forward is I try to keep it in perspective of what my role is.
Oh, absolutely. And I wish more people can think about that, especially for those supervisors and managers who get stuck in those, oh, listen to me because I have the title, and because I have the title, you need to listen to me and do whatever I say and don't talk back and don't question. Like, yeah, I think that holds so much value because it you're not a leader. You're just somebody with like a stick just telling people to do this and do that. You know what I mean? It has no real leadership because like you said, a real leader actually hears, they convey, they tell a part of themselves that shows that they're honest and vulnerable. You know, you didn't have to tell your students like I'm having a bad day or I'm sick or I'm just stressed out. Like let's just keep it like simple. Like you could have just been like any other person and just yelled and snapped out of them. You know what I mean? Exactly. And just and it help and that holds really no value because fear can only take you so far because eventually they're gonna rebel. Eventually they're gonna try to stand up and prove that you're not all the bag of chips that you're claiming to be. So like what could be some advice that you can give an entrepreneur just starting out, starting their own business and not have started their culture yet? What could you advice can you give them?
So if they're just starting out, first of all, early on in my career, I wanted to, I held leadership positions that were appointed, right? I was a teacher, I was a coach. These positions were appointed. And so when I got into real estate, I wanted to be in a leadership role. Well, it's different here. You have to earn that position. You have to earn that right to be able to say, like, hey, I've been there before, I can help you. So that's the first part, right? Like, John Maxwell. So I work for a company called EXP, and one of the agents in our organization got John Maxwell to come talk to a group of about 200 people. Like that, John Maxwell has been doing speaking on leadership and all sorts of stuff for what 50 years. I mean, it was an amazing opportunity, and he talked about the 5 steps of leadership. And I promise I'm going somewhere with this. But he said, number one, if you want to be a leader, number one, I do it. Number two, I do it and you're with me. Number three, you do it and I'm with you. Number four, you do it on your own. And number five, you do it with someone else. And so these are the 5 stages of leadership. And so, somebody who's new in the business, the first step is I do it. You got to do it yourself. You got to climb the mountain. You got to feel the pain. You've got to understand what the challenges are. You got to understand what it feels like to have success. You got to get a broader perspective of the whole thing before you can ever try leading somebody else. And then you say, okay, great, now I can do it with you. And then eventually you go do it on your own. And then the key is that now that you're doing it on your own, you go help somebody else do it, right? That's how we propagate. That's how it becomes, that's how the leader becomes irrelevant down the
Yeah,
line.
absolutely. It makes me think of just working yourself up from the bottom up. You know what I mean? Because it gives
Yep.
you context, it gives you understanding, it gives you why employees move a certain way, do things a certain way. Because when you work from the bottom up, then you have that understanding, you have that context, and when you have context, you build character. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have the context, then you're not going to have the characteristics to actually match that role. So I think that is something really crucial, is just to do it do it with somebody else, giving them that understanding, that educational portion of it, and then just do it on your own. I mean, I think that is so important because if you're able to fix a machine, then you're able to delegate to somebody else to fix that machine. You know what I mean? So it truly does hold value. And I know that you are an author. So what made you write your book?
That's a good question. So, it's funny, really. I started with it was started when I first got into real estate, and I would just have these like random thoughts, and so I just started when I'd have these random thoughts, I just wanted to get them out, and so I just started writing. I had this document with all these random thoughts, and never knew what I was going to do with it. It was almost like a diary, I don't know, and just a place to like throw stuff out there. Um,
Yeah.
and eventually I was doing a meditation one morning, and the idea for this book popped into my mind, like clear as day. I had the whole table of contents. It just popped into my mind. I went up, wrote it down really quick, and just expanded each of those pieces and wrote my first book. And so it was never really my intention. I mean, if you had asked me in high school if I was going to write a book, I would be like, "You are insane! Like, there's no way." So yeah, it just kind of naturally came. And so my first book, I'm full of it, and so are you. Let's change the world together. Was really just a the book is about the fact that we impact the world whether we try to or not. Your energy, the way you talk, the way you act, all of it
Mm-hmm.
impacts the world. So if you're going to impact the world, why not do it with intention? That's kind of the concept of the book. And but really, what it is it's kind of a download of the ideas that have really impacted my life through personal growth and development.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And it really does hold value into this conversation because that's kind of the whole point. It's your intentions. What are you doing with your intentions? Where are your intentions leading you? You know what I mean? Are you being guided out in the right way? Are you using your words for the right thing? Because people don't realize like our words hold so much power. We can bring life into somebody and we can also bring death into somebody. You know what I mean? We can encourage somebody and we can also knock somebody down. And we really have to be more intentional with our words and how we maneuver through life. And it also represents in our culture how we maneuver through words and our intentions as well. And people don't realize like how we manage ourselves and how we discipline ourselves and how we go through the world interacting with others truly makes a big impact. It makes a ripple effect. Like somebody will always know you and remember you by Dan, the man who always took his stand. You know what I mean? I just rhymed, so I just went with it. But but
Fine.
either way, it really does hold value. So what really motivates you to keep going in life in general?
Yeah, so
I know you got to think about it,
well, no, I
right?
mean, it's a loaded question. I'm trying to think of what direction I want to go. I mean, so there's a difference between what motivates me as a leader and what motivates me in life, and they're kind of connected, but they're at the same time two different things. So, what motivates me as a leader is that I am in a position to be able to impact people's lives in a positive way, to be a resource for people that I always wish I had and never did. And to me, that's really powerful. And the reason that that's powerful is what drives me in life is that I've dealt with uh, depression. I've dealt with like severe depression, right? And I've gone from being in that position to discovering, what's possible in life. And for me, the biggest vision I could have for myself is to make the world a better place. The world is looking for people to evolve us, to help us evolve, right? And the more people that are talking about being a better human being and being better at what you do and just those kinds of things, the better off the world is going to be. And so that's why I'm so passionate about that. And I see myself as being in a leadership role where I get to pass that along to people. And that is an honor and it is not guaranteed and it is a big responsibility. And so that's what keeps me moving forward with it. And it's what keeps me growing with it to be better and better and better at it every single day because I don't want to rest on my laurels. I don't want to get to a point where, oh, I've got it figured out and I'm a big bad leader and I'm so good. And da, da, da. I don't, I want to keep getting better. And
Yeah.
being a leader always makes me better. I talk to people, they're like, help me with this. And as I'm talking to them, I'm like, oh, yeah, knucklehead, you're not doing that. I'm sitting there talking to them, and really I'm talking to myself the whole time, right? So it's a great opportunity to grow and become a better human being myself, but also to give back. And it's just what I'm really passionate about, and
Yeah.
I see it as a great honor to be able to influence people.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the fact that you keep this spirit of learning. You know what I mean? Like you're a forever student. You know what I mean? Because there's always an opportunity to learn, there's always an opportunity to grow, and there's always an opportunity to help somebody else educate them in whatever that you've already just got the pleasure to learning and understanding. You know what I mean? And I think I wish more people can see that. And I also loved when you said You wanted to be a resource to others that you didn't have. And I wish more people can see life or see their position or see themselves in that manner because I'm with you. There's been so many times where I wish I had people to help me, to guide me, to adjust my perspective in a way that I would flourish differently. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I may not have had that, but at least I can be that somebody to somebody else, and I can give them that encouraging words. I can give them that understanding so that they don't have to go through life tripping just to figure out, oh, well, I got to step over this rock instead of just walking in it and then tripping. You know what I mean? So I wish that more people can take that opportunity to learn that they have that position in themselves. They have that opportunity to be that forever student. You know what I mean? Have that mindset of knowing that there's my cup is never full, and a step away from the arrogancy, because arrogancy doesn't get you really nowhere. It gets you far to a degree depending on depending on the environment, but at the end of the day it has its downfall. So it's not something that people should technically lean onto as choosing that to be their character, because it doesn't have um long-term benefits. You know what I mean? It's very short term when you step into arrogancy. So you really have to have that spirit of trying to always learn and putting yourself in a position of learning, because there's so many people out there that know more than you or may have experienced life differently than you, and they can bestow that wisdom and that understanding on you that may not somebody else have. And that's why I have my show, because all of these people that I have on my show, they have a perspective on the topics that I bring, and it truly brings people into this. Oh, I never thought of it like that. I never seen culture like that. I never seen business like that. I never seen, you know what I mean, leadership in that manner. So that's why we have these deep conversations, so that people can think about it in a whole new way. And ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, please go check out Dan. I have access to his website, which has access to all the great content, even access to his book. If that intrigued you, go check it out. Go check him out. Go check out all the great content that he has to offer the world so that you can continue on thinking. So, with that being said, bye.